Let's first and foremost look at the top lines here. You know what? It's not going to fit the screen perfectly because I did it kind of last minute, but we never go over right track, wrong track. And it's predictive. It's true. How predictive is debatable, but nevertheless, I don't think it's debatable that it is predictive. NBC News poll has the worst back-to-back right track, wrong tracks in the history of their polling. We are not at 75% wrong track, although we are now scraping a super majority, basically. Okay, let's look at it because when we started this puppy, this is what you call a step, right? Basically, we had, and I'm going to give you the data, starting from March, we had about 40.5% of the country who said we were on the right track, and 50 who said we were on the wrong track, 9.6 who said we were they were unsure, and about the spread being negative 9.5%. My oh my, how things have changed over the course of a year. That was only a few months, handful of months after Joe Biden was inaugurated. We just passed his 1-year anniversary 7 days ago, a week ago, almost to the T. Now, the next month, wrong track started, actually, it ticked down, not much. It was marginal, 49.6, while right direction ticked up slightly, marginally, 40.9. Well within the sampling error. So, I mean, it's not really, when it goes from negative 9.5 to negative 8.8, yeah, it's not worth jumping up and down over, but at least it didn't go in the other direction by 1.4, 1.6, right? All right. But as we entered the summer, things really started to get bad. Last summer, not this, last summer. So by August, only 35.8% told us the country was headed in the right direction, when another 54.7% told us it was headed in the wrong. And that's when we got to majority wrong track. All right. And the unsure remained at about 9.6, as it has been, as it was for the first three polls, right around that general area, 9.5, 9.6. But the spread obviously widened, negative 18.9. September, by the fall, not right before the fall, right before the end of the summer. All right, right track went to about a third, 33.6, where wrong track ticked up slightly to 55.8 from 54.7 the prior survey. Unsure, no opinion, went to 10.6, but still, nevertheless, the spread ballooned out to negative 22.2. November in the fall, we fell below a third. 30.1 said we were headed in the right direction. 62.1 said we were headed in the we were on the wrong track. 7.8, a less, now that we're getting smaller with unsure, said they had no opinion, and the spread was negative 32, or wrong track 32. Now this latest poll, this is the worst, this is the lowest in the history of the Public Polling Project. 27% only say that we're headed in the right direction, when 64.5, nearly a supermajority, it is a supermajority, and consider the sampling error, really, think that we're on the wrong track. Only 8.5 said they were unsure, going down below the previous, the first part of that, the first three surveys that we had conducted. All right, still a little bit higher, but marginally than the prior survey in the fall. Wrong track, 37.5. Okay, the spread is negative 37.5. This is the worst. Can it get worse? I guess. Probably. I don't know. We're going to find out. When I saw the NBC News poll, I thought, oh, dear God. I mean, this is his 30-year history, that poll. And they've never seen right track, wrong track numbers this bad, especially not back-to-back consecutive numbers. We're showing a worsening trend. We'll see if ours are back-to-back too. All right, Joe Biden's approval rating. Boom. There's the trend for Joe Biden's approval rating. Got a little bit worse this month. Not terribly worse, but a little bit worse. Approval dipped about a point. He's in the 30s. Disapproval is now headed north of 60%. We are really, or he is, really getting at risk here of a majority strongly disapproving. So when we looked at his overall, and I'll give you that actually. Let's take a look at that. Give me 1 second. Let me bring it up, and I'll give you the actual breakdown of how it is. Because obviously intensity matters, right? And from the very jump, from the beginning of this thing, we told you Joe Biden has no base. Nobody loves Joe Biden. Nobody's dying to jump, into a volcano or crawl over broken glass to vote for Joe Biden or support Joe Biden. Nobody loves Joe Biden. And now his image is actually getting rather negative. He went from being the great unremarkable to a near majority really kind of hating this guy. Over 42.2% strongly disapprove of the job Joe Biden is doing. 15.9 strongly approved. Ladies and gentlemen, that intensity index is abysmal. Has anybody looked at Rasmussen's intensity index the last time we checked? Does anybody know where they're at right about now? I'm actually curious. This is really bad because they're the only other ones who track it. I mean, we're now at, and we started where isn't, he never had a great intensity index, but it's negative. It's what actually I did something wrong here. Hold on. It is his intensity index in our polling is negative 26.3. Not even Donald Trump had negative intensity indexes like this. Why? Because he had a base who loved him. No matter what, there was always a good chunk of voters who said, I strongly approve. Why? I love the guy. Same thing with Barack Obama. And even George Bush before he completely collapsed the U.S. economy, or he presided over the collapse. He didn't start the subprime crisis, but he didn't do anything about it. And when it happened, his base that loved him, made up largely of white evangelicals, they abandoned him. And he ended up in the 20s. Another 16.4 disapprove, bringing his total disapproval to 58.6. Again, really coming up on a, 6 out of 10 disapproval, which is, it really is. I mean, it statistically is 6 and 10 disapprove. But you're getting to a point now where almost a majority strongly disapproves of the job Joe Biden is doing. 23.5% somewhat approved. So we're talking about less than 2 in 10 who really think this guy's doing a good job. 16%. These are really bad numbers. Forget about for a first-term president. We've actually seen stuff like that before. This guy has everything on his side. He's got corporate media on his side. He has fake fact checkers on his side. He has social media on his side, censoring, persecuting. I mean, let's take this with context. Let's be real here. With every advantage built into this, where's my 9-ball players? Joe Biden is basically spotted the 7, the 6, let's say 6. He's spotted the 6. All he's got to do is not mess up 3 shots. If politics was a game of 9-ball, Joe Biden is spotted the 6. And he's still doing terribly. All right, now, that's the trend. Let's look at his issues. Ironically, this really drives home the point I've been making. Oh, hold on 1 second before we get into it. I've told you from the jump, this guy never got high marks consistently anyway on any other issue other than COVID. On every other measure that a president is measured, is gauged. The economy, foreign policy, immigration, crime, on foreign relations with different countries. On every single measure, the man was negative. And consistently so, and badly so. Only on COVID did he ever get high marks. Almost 60% approval at the start of our polling. And I told you once that coronavirus approval started to fall, the rest of it was coming down like a house of cards. And that's where we're at now. It turned negative for the first time in the fall survey, the prior survey we did, when only about 45% approved of the job he was doing, and about 51, I think it was, he was like negative, right, 6, something like that, disapproved. On other issues, he was even worse than he is this month, although it's all marginal. So even while he did, marginally better on some of these other issues, it still sucks. You'll see it. He did worse on COVID this month. And because he did worse on COVID, his overall approval fell. This is you can almost overlay the trend with Joe Biden's approval on handling the pandemic with his overall approval rating. You can almost overlay it. Economy and jobs, only 37.7% approve of the job Joe Biden is doing on the economy and jobs. 59.4% disapprove. And again, let me pull these up as I do this and show these to you guys. I'm going to give you the strongly disapprove on every single one of these. On jobs in the economy, 42.4% strongly disapprove on the job he's doing. It almost mirrors, the only difference is the somewhat. It almost mirrors his overall approval rating, which is pretty incredible. All right, on foreign policy, which I don't know why I have this like that. I put it in the wrong order on the crosstab. I'll change it. Let's go to coronavirus. On the coronavirus, he's now down to 42.5%. 54.5% disapprove of the job he's doing on COVID. 20.7% strongly approve of the job Joe Biden is doing on COVID. Another roughly 2 in 10, it says 21.8, somewhat approve. 37.7%, now almost 4 in 10, strongly disapprove of the job he is doing on COVID. 17.1, somewhat disapprove. All right, immigration and border security. So now even on COVID, because what you got to think, what can he do to fix this? What can they do to fix it? Will they be able? So this is what I was talking about so much when I brought up the idea that this is because he made an impossible to keep campaign promise. So now that reality is set in, and 4 in 10 are basically like, this guy was totally full of you know what, with another almost 2 in 10. Almost 2 in 10 saying they disapprove. What can he do to fix it? Think about his prospects here. Can he get it under control? Can he stop the variants from coming? Can he shut down the virus, not the economy? It was it was asinine to believe or to argue in the first place. Why am I saying this? They set themselves up for this. Now, the ends justify the means. They just wanted to get in power. Obviously, they're not reacting to poll numbers. Joe Biden patently tells the press he doesn't believe them. And now, because he said that, by the way, you're starting to see some of these, repeat offenders. Repeat offenders. Let me say this unequivocally. Some of the other polls out there, I totally believe are full of crap. I don't believe it's a methodological problem. Locals, I'll go over in a live stream with you the raw data. You'll see, I think we were being generous to Joe Biden here. And Democrats on the generic ballot. They're getting killed. Joe Biden is not popular. These policies are not popular. People definitely see empty shelves. We're going to get there. People definitely see price increases. We're going to get there. So, you can basically go in an alternative reality if you want, but these problems are here. You can push poll if you want, but these problems are here. There is no way Joe Biden can get to 47% approval. Shame on you if you have that. It's not a methodological issue at this point. They're so bad. The numbers are so bad. Wait till we look at the hypothetical. Trump versus Biden. There are more liberals who are so angry with Joe Biden, they would vote for Donald Trump than there are conservatives who would vote for Joe Biden. That's backward. Typically, there is almost always more conservatives willing to vote for a Democratic candidate than there are liberals who are willing to vote for Republican candidates. And it's never happens. except for 2016, by the way, in places like Michigan. But even so, there are still conservative Democrats. And what happened this month is that those liberals who are just getting pissed, there's cracks in the Democratic base here. There's no way to put it. With Joe Biden, the Democratic base has cracked. We're coming up on almost 20%. Just about. I think it's 18. Let me not speak out of turn here. Let me pull it up. Party detail. And Biden's approval. And you guys know that I'm not one of those people. When I see polls, it's like 25% crossover either way, or even, close to 20. I just think bull. God bless you. But, the teens to like 20%, I get. The last time we saw somebody lose over 20% of their base was Jimmy Carter against Ronald Reagan. And it was a massacre. The election was over in like a half hour. Joe Biden, 12% of Democrats somewhat disapprove. Now 7% strongly disapprove. So we're at 19% disapproval with Joe Biden among Democrats. And for those who care, we're at 29% basically among true independents. He improved a little bit with third-party voters, but it's still only a little over 30%. So overall, when you combine them together, it's about 30% approval. Although among true independents, it's lower. So they set themselves up for this, getting back to the original thought. That was not a real argument. I'm going to shut down the pandemic and not. Joe Biden was going to do better on the pandemic than Donald Trump? Really? A man who Barack Obama removed from the swine flu task force because of incompetency? Because he missed the vaccine rollout targets? Folks, in the 6-month target, Joe Biden hit 11%. Yes, 11%. Go back and look it up. Barack Obama wanted X number of vaccines, which was, I think, about 100,000 and change. And he got like 11. It was 11%. So, or 100 million, excuse me. I misspoke. Then he got about 11. So they set themselves up for this because they made this impossible to keep campaign promise. And it was only a matter of time before Americans were going to see it was impossible. And now they see it. So my question here is, how is he going to do better? Booster after booster after... No. It's not a viable option. Let me just break everybody's bubble, pop everybody's bubble right now. That is not a viable option. Why? Because there are too many people who got the 2-dose vaccine who say they're not getting this. They're done. They're done. They're not getting the booster. And why? Because we still have a significant percentage of the population, which we can look at again, who simply won't get the 2-dose. They're not doing it. And we'll look at that trend too, because it's actually amazing how over the course of a year, almost a year, asking people about vaccination status, how clear the picture is. Those who said, I got it, started out low, but then that I intend to get it was cannibalized. The I have no plans to get it is incredibly consistent. And they're not budging. They are not budging. And in fact, if you consider the booster being fully vaccinated, then you're going to have a bigger problem. Because not only do you have now that 20 to 25%, it's usually about, I think the average is about 22%, almost exactly what we found this month. You're going to not only have the problem with those people just being a hard no, they're not getting it. You're also going to be compounded with the problem now of people who did get the 2-dose who will not get boosters. And that number is high. It may have something to do with the follow-up question we asked, by the way, which we're going to have to save for Rumble or Locals because certain platforms, YouTube, don't want people to know the truth. Getting back to Joe Biden's approval rating on the issues. All right. Immigration. Let me pull up immigration so I can give you the immigration and border security. 42.2% strongly disapprove. You know what's amazing about this? There's actually like about a quarter of Democrats who disapprove of the job Joe Biden is doing on immigration. It's actually pretty incredible. So 34.1% with only 12% being strongly approve. Overall, only 34% approve, only 12% strongly approve. The man lives off of somewhat juice, okay? He does not have, and on any of these issues, nor overall, does he have a significant percentage of the public who actually likes him or loves him. They don't. He is basically a default president. Going to crime. Overall, 34. Oh, and by the way, look at the disapproval in immigration. 59.2%. 34.9% approve of the job Joe Biden is doing on crime. 39.5% strongly disapprove. 19% somewhat disapprove. Only 12.5% strongly approve of the job he is doing on crime. On U.S.-China relations, 40% even, 40 up, strongly disapprove of the job he is doing with U.S.-China relations. Overall, you can clearly see only 32.9% approve, with only less than 11.8% strongly approving. Overall, 57.1% strongly disapprove of the job Joe Biden is doing handling U.S.-China relations. Another biggie for a president here, foreign policy. Kind of matters. We got Ukraine going on right now. Obviously, that's crappy territory. 34.7% approve of the job Joe Biden is doing on foreign policy. That includes less than 14% who strongly approve, when, again, 4 in 10 strongly disapprove. All right, so with that, did I miss? I didn't miss it, right? No, I did not.
Hi folks, Rich Baris, the People's Pundit, host of Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit, and co-host of What Are the Odds with Barnes and Baris. If you liked what the New York Post called above average transparency, then go ahead and like the page, share the videos, and hit that notification bell. It'll let you know when we're going to go live.